Oh, there I am. Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling. Oh man, what a week we've had in the world of TNA wrestling. People think, I think people outside of the TNA bubble think that this company is constantly in chaos, and that they're always on their ass, and they're always about to go out of business. And every contract that's coming due, they're naturally going to lose, and that they're being taken advantage of by WWE. That Tony Khan's out to get them, and that all of their talent are being held hostage, signed contracts against their will, and they're all just waiting to go to AEW so that way they can be happy and they can be loved by AEW fans who will never take them for granted. Um, those people are weird. So it's so funny. So I don't like to vague post, and unfortunately I'm guilty of doing a vague post earlier this week. I think it might have been yesterday. And I, for some reason, I guess I just naturally assumed that everybody knew what I was talking about, because I was talking about it I have a group of guys that I have a chat with, Lucha Doncic is going to be hopping on the show. At least he better. He said he was coming on, and dropped the link and I dropped him the link and everything. So I hope Lucha's coming on. But we were having a chat because earlier in the week. Oh, so back to my vague tweet. Sorry, I have not had a lot of sleep. It was a ton of I don't know why I didn't have a lot of sleep. I wasn't sleeping with the baby or nothing like that. A little sweet coffee for my baby boy. But so anyway, I made a tweet, and it didn't like explode, but it was like, it got some traction, and it was that TNA is offloading some big contracts, and people took that and went wild with it. And the reason why I said that is because earlier in the week it was reported that Jonathan Gresham, his deal is expiring in January. I guess probably at the same time as his wife, Jordynne Grace, in January of 2025. Now, that's a little bit early for his contract to expire. So it sounds like they worked a deal out there. They also worked a deal out with Jordynne Grace, who had, her contract was supposed to expire in the summer of 2025, I think like May of 2025, and she was able to work it out to where it's in January of 2025. There's a trend here, right? And I was just asking around, and was told that some of the bigger contracts that Scott D'Amore signed with some folks that maybe they're not like, they could take him or leave him. You know what I mean? Like, not that they're like, Jonathan Gresham's not a bad wrestler. I think they like Jonathan. They liked him enough to bring him to Las Vegas to watch the premiere, and he was sitting with the bosses and all that stuff. But if you're not like super contributing to the show and you're getting paid a lot of money, I think they're pretty happy to let you go, right? And then they're going to work out an agreement with you to be able to go early, and I think that's probably what happened with him. Now, I don't know the full details of what, like, if he was negotiated a buyout or if he negotiated a contract being shortened. But it does appear that contract was set to expire a little bit later, and he was able to get it into January of 2025. And we talked to Ibu about that, and I'm sure I'm going to go ahead and go into more detail on Jonathan Gresham about that in a little bit. Lucha's in the green room. I'm going to bring Lucha on in just a minute. I just want to finish my point, and then I'm going to talk to Lucha. We got some questions for him, but Jonathan Gresham's not the only guy that is doing that. Okay. There are some more contracts, like veteran contracts of guys who probably aren't contributing at a high level, but are getting paid pretty well, that are probably going to be offloaded here pretty soon. I was told one name specifically, and then I asked if I can go with that name, and I was told no. I told Lucha the name, and he's been sworn to secrecy. So, but I think I'm just going to rattle off some names, and then I'll let you decide which one you think it is. But just think of it this way. There's some veteran talent that was signed right before Hard to Kill that are not major contributors to the show, but they're getting paid probably quite a bit of money. Think Trent Seven, think Kushida, and then there's all other guys that are still under contract, but we haven't seen them in a while, right? We haven't seen them in a while, and they're making good dough because they're veterans. They're not going to be coming in for for pennies. And then there's other guys who don't have big contracts, but they've been getting paid to sit at home that are now getting released. And we just saw that earlier this week with Jai Vidal, which is so hilarious that I made that tweet, that vague tweet saying that TNA is offloading some big contracts. And then seconds later, the Jai Vidal news breaks, and there was like, oh, he was just talking about Jai Vidal. No, I wasn't talking about Jai Vidal. I'm just talking about Trent Seven, Kushida, Big Khan, other cats like that. Like, when's the last time we saw Alan Angels? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people like that are going to work out some deals to have their contracts come due, and then there's going to be some where they offload the bigger contracts, and then maybe they're like, oh, we have some more money for a guy like Alan Angels, and maybe we'll just bring him back and have him contribute to the show a little bit more. So there's also those things, and then we got Jordynne Grace, Speedball, and Josh Alexander. Those are the big three that we've been talking about for months on this show. Jordynne Grace and Speedball, obviously, at the beginning of the year, they'll very likely be wearing different colored jerseys. Jordynne Grace most likely going to be on WWE television in one form or another. Speedball, I would assume that he'd be earmarked for AEW unless they're able to work something out. And then Josh Alexander coming up in February, his deal is due. And Ibu said it on my show, on the Mike and JD show earlier this week. Go check it out. That there is a little bit of a bidding war. A little bit of a bidding war for Josh Alexander, and in TNA, they don't get caught in bidding wars. They don't really compete in those things because they just don't have the resources. So if WWE or AEW really wants them, they'll be able to afford them. They'll be able to afford to outbid Josh Alexander. So that's what I was saying. This is not like hey, the sky is falling, TNA is going out of business. All this bullshit that people on Twitter, the narratives they like to spin, like none of that is happening, and nobody's even said that. Like that is not a real thing. And Anthem is fully committed to the company. So everybody needs to chill